form.
You nervous like it's your first time there, Chris?
It's always the first time.
Always the first anniversary of Beer Analysis 101 here on Maxwell Stars Beer Review channel. Of course, it was a year ago, actually on August 16th, 2017, that Lee, the baby daddy of Beer BA 101, first hosted the Beer Analysis 101. Of course, Banquet was the one we did that time. And of course, now we hear a year later, we're still going, we're still drinking. Please stop us. Anyway, so moving right along, we're taking a look at a very special beer for our very special one-year anniversary, and we're looking at the treat from Belgium, Trappist Rochefort, number 10. A monster of a beer. It's 11.3%, I think. Yeah.
I'm drinking 2 of them.
You're drinking the double fisting already, and somebody's making a hissing noise, so Greg, can I get you to mute yourself?
Mm-hmm.
And we'll see. It might be Matt that's actually hissing.
How about that? Better?
Yeah, that works.
Huh.
All right, cool. All right, so moving right along, let's get over to the panel, and we'll start it from the other side. And we'll introduce our first panel member, which is Ashley Sexton. How are you doing tonight?
Holy shit, I was first. I was not expecting that. I'm doing great. Thank you. I'm pretty happy to be here tonight. This should be a good review. I'm looking forward to this one for sure.
Yeah, awesome. Glad to have you here. Glad you could make it. And we've got the ever so professional Greg on here tonight. I see you wearing a suit. And you're muted. Greg, you're muted.
There you go.
Yeah. All right. I think you did that on purpose to fucking troll.
Greatest beer analysis ever.
Yeah. Well, I could always just hit eject again.
I'm back. Sorry,
Yeah.
my thing screwed up. I couldn't unmute myself. Hi, Nick. I'm very happy to be here for this very special occasion. Hoping we can be very professional, not have any crude humor or anything like that, Joe.
Oh, this is already a shit show thanks to your antics. But, you know, that's why we do this anyway. So, moving right along to Chris on the 10th. How are you doing tonight, sir? And by the way, I loved that video you did earlier. Thanks for plugging us on your channel with all your subscribers.
You know, let me tell you something, Nick. It's what I do. I mean, I don't do a lot of things in my life, but sometimes I like to plug my friends.
Yeah.
That totally came out the exact same way I wanted it, exactly how I wanted it.
It sounded almost like you could do that with a Bill Cosby voice. You're like, I could talk to you about the friends.
That's gonna come soon.
That should be later. That should be later in the after chat.
But yeah, thanks for having your 1-year anniversary here on your channel. You know what? I'm really excited, and I can't fucking believe that a year has passed, and we started this shit long ago. We started it on Lee's channel. Now we're over here on your channel, and it's unbelievable at the amount of fucking fan mail that you get every fucking week. I know you can't open up those letters all the time and those emails all the time because you're a busy guy, Nick. But you know what? I appreciate everyone who watches. I appreciate everyone that takes care of, you know, what beers they drink, and, you know, they make sure that they, you know, enjoy all the beers, especially the ones that we review here on Beer Analysis 101. So again, thank you, Nick, for having me. And you know what? Looking forward to season 2. You know what I'm saying? So
And to all our female viewers, thank you for all the provocative photos you send that Nick totally does not share with the rest of us.
I now have the power to.
You're talking out of turn, Greg. Let's go. All right, let's move right along over to Craig Kent beer reviews. I'm glad you actually got a bottle this time, and it's wind blowing on you, Matt.
Yeah, I got it this beer this evening. Funnily enough, my friend who was going to actually get me a bottle, he was going to go to a shop the other end of the country. He ended up he couldn't get there, so the last minute I was like, oh, hopefully someone could help me locally, and a good friend of mine, Richard, did. So big shout out to him. So yeah, really cool. Eventually got one.
Sounds like a really good friend, man. That's pulled through.
Yeah, it's an aged bottle as well, so it's like, really? Okay.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah,
right.
He's into his Lambecs and all that sort of thing. Just went round there, picked it up. Oh, come and have a look at this, and like, just bottles and stuff everywhere. It's crazy. So yeah, good mate.
Nice. Yeah, if he's got a big thing for the Belgians, he's almost certainly got a couple of bottles of this.
Yeah.
All right.
So thanks for having me anyway. Cheers.
No problem. I'm glad you could make it. Another person I'm glad that could make it. It's the person who invented Beer Analysis 101 in the first place, and of course, he still has weekly visitation rights. Hey, Lee, how you doing tonight?
Doing very well. Thanks for having me. Glad to see my little child all grown up and walking around. You know, when this show was first conceived and put together and started on my channel, they say they broke the mold. Unfortunately, some of it grew back, but we're still here. We're still strong, and we're still better than all the other panel shows out there. So, fuck them, and let's do this.
Exactly. All right, and next up is Matt, Massive Beer Reviews, another person who really likes their aged beers. How you doing tonight?
Doing pretty awesome. Yeah, I picked this up today from a local joint. I was kind of hoping to have some time on it. I mean, most of these Belgian beers, these Trappist beers, are always going to ride with a little bit of time on it, but I was hoping a little bit more. Mine's about just over a year old, but I'm excited to do it. This is one of the beers that got me into beer like 20 years ago. So, yeah.
Nice. Wow. 20 years. All right. And another one I'm glad is here, and sorry to leave you for last, but it was your turn. Hey, Joe of the Beer Patrol. How you doing tonight?
Doing all right, Nick. How are you doing? That's the better question.
I'm doing just fine, but we're not talking about me.
No, we are, though. That's the thing. No, we always forget about you. It's always about Ashley Sexton being last or somebody else. We never ask you how you're doing. And
hey,
if you're excited to be here.
Doesn't matter which order we go in, I'm always last.
That's true.
Sometimes it's not bad to finish last.
That is true. I'm doing great, though.
All right. It's great. All right. So, yeah, let's move along. I'm not doing too bad myself. Thank you for asking. And all right, let's move over to the brewery history on Trappist Rochefort, or Rochefort, rather. The Rochefort brewery began as a form of subsistence within the walls of the Rochefort Abbey, also known as the Abbey de Notre Dame de Saint-Remy. Rochefort Abbey, located in the town of Rochefort in the Wallonian region of Belgium, is a Trappist abbey inhabited by Trappist monks belonging to the Order of Cistercians of strict observance, an order of monks originating from the region of La Trappe, France. The abbey was founded in 1230, but it wouldn't be until 1595 until the first brewery was founded within the abbey walls. As the monks lived simple lives of manual work, reading and prayer, brewing beer was made for subsistence and for selling enough to the public to keep the abbey open. During the 17th century, due to the war, famine, and plague, the abbey suffered and had to be abandoned several times. Finally, in 1789, the area was invaded by the French Revolutionary Army. The abbey was later confiscated by the French government in 1797 and then sold and demolished in 1805, and the area was converted to a farm. On October 11th, 1887, Father Anselmus Judong from the Trappist Abbey of Acle visited the remains of the abbey, and 2 months later, the remaining buildings were purchased by the monks of Acle. The abbey was rebuilt, and in 1899, the brewery was restored. Brewing at the abbey was again interrupted during World War I, when the German occupiers removed the copper fittings from the brewery in 1918 to be melted down for their war effort. Production later resumed and continued through to the end of World War II. However, by the late 40s, the brewery had major consistency issues and the quality lagged behind that of other Trappist orders. In an act of fraternal kindness, brewers from Scourmont Abbey in Leuven, the makers of Chimay, worked with Rochefort to improve their consistency, production methods, and hygiene. Sanitation. One of Chimay's suggestions was for the abbey to focus on only darker beers, something of which the brewery has stuck to today. From the mid-50s and continuing to today, Rochefort Abbey brews only 3 beers, each named after the specific gravity using the old Belgian degree system, simply called 6, 8, and 10. In 1997, Rochefort was one of the 8 founding Trappist abbeys to form the International Trappist Association to prevent non-Trappist companies from using the Trappist name for commercial use. The International Trappist Association created a logo, which is on the side of our bottle right here, authentic Trappist product. You'll see those hexagonal logos on just about any Trappist product. In order to conform to the criteria required to be a Trappist product, these criteria are as follows. Number 1, the beer must be brewed within the abbey walls, either by the monks themselves or under their supervision. Number 2, the brewery must be of secondary importance within the monastery and should witness to the business practices proper to the monastic way of life. And number 3, the brewery is a non-profit venture. Income from the products made are to cover the monks' living expenses and upkeep of the brewery, the monastery, and the grounds. All remaining income is donated to charities and the needy. So, as mentioned before, Rochefort only makes 3 beers, which are, of course, Rochefort 6, a 7.5% ABV double, Rochefort 8, a 9.2% ABV Belgian Strong Dark Ale, and tonight's beer, Rochefort 10, which is an 11.3% ABV Trappist quadruple style. Quadruple, of course, is a trademark of La Trappe Brewery. That's another story. Developed in the late 40s and early 50s and brewed with Pilsner and Munich malts, Hallertau, and Styrian Golding hops, as well as dark cane sugar. Rochefort 10 is well-renowned, has won many awards, including gold medals at the 2004 and 2006 World Beer Championships, and frequently appears on best beer lists around the world. It's also currently rated as number 2 best Abbott style or quadruple on Rate Beer. It's the number 2 best quadruple on Beer Advocate, and it's way down to number 29th on Untapped. But if you take away all the one-offs and shit that are ranked higher by hipsters, then probably be better rated there. But all right, so moving right along, let's get into beer histories, and we'll continue the same order that we did before. Let's go over to Ash and say, have you ever had Rochefort 10 before, sir?
Yes, I most certainly have. This is one of those beers, sort of as Matt alluded to earlier. I was sort of late to the craft beer game, and appreciating the finer things that come with beer. But this was definitely one of those beers that I remember having one time just on a whim. I just saw it at the LCBO and I was like, okay, well, why not? It's made by monks. Seems like a cool thing. And tried it out and probably drank it way too fast. Probably didn't appreciate it. But I do remember really liking it quite a bit. And it's sort of it's one of those beers that just sort of opened the door for me and just realized that you can enjoy that macro stuff. You can enjoy your lagers and whatnot, but at the end of the day, there are very fine beers out there, and there are things to be appreciated. And I tapped this a few months ago, and I think I was pretty surprised then that I hadn't tapped it before. But I've had this numerous times, but the first time was probably about 4 or 5 years ago. So yeah, that's my history with this.
Nice, cool story. All right, let's move over to Greg, who I know actually, I believe, really likes this beer.
I'm always shocked at the things I haven't tapped before. Anyways, yes, I've had this beer. Don't ask me what my history is, because I don't know. I've had it a bunch of times. Probably had the last 5 or 6 vintages of it. I've had it almost every year since I've been into beer. And I usually buy like 6 of them around Christmas time when they're out. Thanks, Nick, for just taking photos while we're doing our thing. And I buy about 6 of them at Christmas time, usually drink a few and save a few to age, because why not? Because unlike a lot of beers we've done so far, this one actually ages pretty well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's one thing I didn't mention in my first spiel, is that these beers are can be aged for a while. Generally, when you get them new, they're a 5-year, I believe it's 5 years aging time. I know my bottle has a best before date of 2022, so it's about a last year bottle, but I also have a 2014 bottle sitting right next to me as well. We can talk about what everybody's bottles age to in a bit. All right, let's move over to Chris.
Never had this before in my life. And yeah, so we'll talk about that in a minute. But yeah, I've never had it. So I'm a virgin to the Rochefort 10. So we'll see what happens.
Going to have the Rochefort popped.
I am. All the cherries popped.
All right.
Settle down, Greg.
All right. Moving right over to Craig, the anti-Greg. Are you? All right. So, what's your history with this beer? I'm assuming you've had this before.
Yeah, I've had it a couple of times since 2014, but I've also had it quite a lot of times before untapped, back in the noughties or whatever you want to call it, the zeros years. So yeah, I mean, I had a Belgian bar in my hometown where at the end of a just fairly large session, we used to all go in there and drink some stupid ABV beers after a huge session. So yeah, I probably had this, well, dozens of times, but not even realised it. But it's even when you're pissed though and you drink this, it's still bloody good. So anyway, but yeah, that's another story. But yeah, so I've got a this is a 2014 vintage by the look of it. It was bottled on the 4th of June of 2014. Yeah, so 2019 is the thing on it. So a good friend. Yeah,
very good friend.
Yeah, so he's had it for a while.
That's newer than my 2014 bottle. This one's from December.
Yeah.
Anyway, or sorry, older than whatever. All right, move along to Mr. Lee. How you doing? And
Good.
All right, so how what's your history with this beer? I'm pretty sure you did a review of this one point.
Yeah, back in 2013, I believe it was. Average Joe himself, the Beer Patrol, sent me a bottle of that, so I was very gracious to get that. And also thank you, Nick, for sending me the bottle for this review. And yeah, that's kind of my history with it. I got to try it, and at that point, I'd only had, I think the only quad I think I had was Chimay Blue. It was pretty much all I've been familiar with for the most part, and it was interesting to get something that get into it more in the review, but to get into something that you didn't necessarily have to age yourself to get it to the sort of quality that this beer sits at. So it was a fun little sort of eye opener.
Nice. Yeah, I think I'm pretty sure I watched a review way back when. Anyway, probably for one of the first times I ever heard of this beer. I think might have been somebody. Anyway, moving along, let's go over to Matt, who I'm pretty sure has probably got the most extensive history for this beer on this channel. So as you were saying, this is the one that got you into beer, and you're muted.
You must have muted me, brother. Anyway, yeah, this beer, 1998, I went to Canada for a kind of like work thing. And when I was there, I asked a friend, you know what I mean, hey, we have good beer out here. And they ended up saying, hey, this is really good beer. And it ended up being Unibrew Maudit. And I ended up coming back, and I was like, that was really my first foray really into craft beer. And I came back, and it just so happened a friend, I knew a friend, an acquaintance kind of was in the beer, and he worked at a bar, and they're like, oh, they have good beer there. So I went there, and I said, hey, do you have this beer, this Unibrew Maudit? And he said, yeah. And I went there for like 3 weeks straight and drank just that beer. You know what I mean? Not thinking anything of it, just saying, oh, I love this beer. That being a Belgian dark style, you know, not necessarily a quad, but anyway, after, you know, a couple weeks, he's like, listen, dude, he's like, you know, there's more beers than just this. And he's like, well, I really like this one. He's like, well, if you think this one is good, this one's going to blow your titties off. And that was Rochefort 10. You know what I mean? And that's kind of how I got into beer. From there, that guy actually taught me almost everything I know about beer. We kind of cut a deal. I was going there so often. He was like, hey, man, come back every week. I'll cut you a deal on price. And you can't ask for beer. I'll just give you beers, and I'll tell you everything about them, but you got to drink what I put in front of you. But Rochefort 10 was kind of that beer that was really like, okay, there's more to it than just flavor. There's depth of flavor. There's different things going on. And it's always been something I've gone back to. It's been a really long time since I've had one. That was why I was really excited about coming on here. And it does not disappoint. So, yeah, this is near and dear to my heart.
Wow. That's an awesome story. And I also got to point out it's a really awesome glass you got there, too.
Yeah, I got a little proper glassware, little crack in it though, so I don't use it that often. But break it out for when I get the Rocheforts out,
for special occasions. Right on. All right, let's move over to the last one. Certainly not least, well, maybe for this time. But Joe, what's your history with this beer?
Certainly not extensive as Matt's. My story will be nowhere near as good, but I had it for the first time in, I want to say 2010, 2011, probably in 2010, about a year after I started getting a craft beer. Went to a local bottle shop here that Matt's familiar with. Chris probably as well, Premier Gourmet. And the manager there, who is still the manager now, Ethan, he would recommend beers to me every week. And I started asking him about Belgian beers because I had no idea like anything about Belgian beers. I was just sticking to domestic stuff. And he started recommending some Belgian doubles and pale ales and like golden ales and whatnot. And I really liked Rochefort 6. That was one of the first doubles I had. And he was like, well, if you like that, why don't you try out the 8? It's like basically an imperial version of that. And I was like, okay, I tried that. And he's like, if you really like that, try the 10. And that's when I first tried it. I do like the 8 more than the 10, though. I saw Paul posted in the comments about it. It's neither here nor there, but I just wanted to point that out. But yeah, so Rochefort 10 was the first quad I ever had. Much like Matt, though, I haven't had this in a long time. It's been at least 3, if not 4 years since I've had this beer. So just like Matt, part of the reason I wanted to join tonight is the fact that I'm able to, but also that I haven't had this in a long time and I want to kind of revisit it. So I appreciate the invite and I'm enjoying it. So
very nice, and it's definitely a beer worth revisiting.
Yeah, I will say I don't know if we're going to talk when we're going to talk about price points, but it'll be interesting to see Matt and I compared to you guys and to Craig and where the price point for this beer falls nowadays for everybody.
All right. Well, I guess it's my turn next. The history between me and this beer, it's a little bit of a strange one because back in 2012, I think Keist Almighty gave me a 2012 bottle of Trappist Rochefort 10 back in the original run of Maxwell Stars beer reviews from 2011 to 2013. And I had found this awesome glass at a Value Village. I hadn't drank that beer yet. I was waiting for a special occasion. I found this awesome glass. I was really excited to try it. Then shit happened. I ended up moving. The glass got broken in the move, although I have repaired the stem of it. I still have that 2012 bottle, but between there and then, I still have the 2012 bottle. And the first time I actually drank the beer was over at my buddy Sis' place. Was hanging with him for the night back in 2014, and he had a 2013 bottle of Rochefort 10, and we both really liked it. I mean, it's not like it's definitely not one that I was like the first one I got me into beer. It was certainly not even the first or even the fourth different Trappist beer that I had at that point. But I'd heard a lot of good shit about it, and I was excited to try it. So, and you know, it's one that I was looking forward to trying again. And back in 2015, I think it was, the liquor stores here brought in a whole bunch of Belgian beers, which included Rochefort 10 and 8. And at that point in time, I actually bought like a half dozen bottles of each and squirreled them away. And I've been drinking them over the years. They're definitely worth enjoying. So that's my personal history on Rochefort 10. So let's move along and go to the lead. You want to read the comments?
Sure. Okay, so Rod J's in the chat. He was wondering if anyone was here, and he says, "Oh, snap, Greg and a tie." Raining on your parade's in here. He says he's got a bottle of Rochefort 10 for $6.79. Not had this beer in a long time. And when I was picking this off the shelf, I said to myself, why haven't I revisited this in the last bunch of years? And he asks, is this beer bottle conditioned? And that's actually, yeah, that's a good question because they don't.
It is.
Yeah, they don't put it on the label. Usually they would if they do. But Paul says I prefer the 8. Love the sweet caramel and red apple skins. The sediment is very evenly blended, hazy and creamy, unlike the 10's coffee ground sediments, which I can attest to. I was looking at the bottle here, and if you stick your finger right in, you'll get like coffee ground like sediment on your finger. And Paul says, I see everyone is on their most professional on this prodigious moment. I'm bad at reading. Paul says, congrats on 1 year, Dr. Nick's macro apologist power hour forever. Raining on your parade says, PA Boo News, so is it bottle condition? It does not say so on the bottle.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Sure
and Paul sort of confirms, yeah, I assume so. Paul says, fish food for days, famous cave cheese, the monks of A-Hole, all sort of off the cuff comments that were probably relevant.
The Akel, the abbey, the monks of Akel, which is another abbey that went on to make their own Trappist beers. There, it's at Akel.
Paul says, I like that Chimay recommended they stay off their beer market. Yort's in the chat, and he says, Rochefort 10 is greater than West Veteran 12, and which is also greater than St. Bernardus App 12. So he's ranking. He didn't even put Chimay in the rankings there, by the way.
I would agree with that.
I would disagree.
I think Rochefort and Westie is interchangeable for me, but the availability of Rochefort makes it probably for me.
Availability and price.
I might put St. Bernardus actually at the top myself, but that's just me.
So yeah, everybody's gonna have a different opinion. They're all awesome beers. I think it would be awesome to do like a side by side of all like very similar bottles.
Yeah,
it'd be difficult to do to get them all within like a month or two, but I think that'd be an awesome little experiment.
Eric Gilbert says, I totally like the 8 better. Paul says that Nick's bottle was probably aged in a Canadian basement near a furnace, much like St. Bernardus. But he says
that's actually a reference to my old beer reviews. I think it was
Sith.
I think it was like, Sith had aged it in his apartment near a furnace, and it was like a St. Bernardus 8 or something, and it didn't turn into vinegar. But I posted the video anyway, I think.
The best part about it was like, you think that hurts at all? I'm like, no, next time just put it right directly next to the furnace and see what happens. I mean, I don't.
West Coast Nick was in here briefly. Booze Reviews CA says, have fun with this beer. Need to catch my flight. Cheers, guys. Safe flight.
Cheers, dude.
Let's see. Anything else here interesting? Raining on Your Parade says, I just consumed the last of the bottle, and I'm guessing it is not bottle condition, just some sediment, like the coriander at the bottom. Crazy sedimentation, Paul says, for not being conditioned. Cheers, Raining on Your Parade. And then Beer by the Number says, what a great review crew here tonight.
Cheers, Ryan. Also, that wouldn't be the first time that Raining on Your Parade is wrong. Am I right?
Yeah, it has to be bottle conditioner. It's impossible for it not to be, because they didn't have the technology to force carbonate beer. Back in Stone Age. So
on a scale of 1 to Raining on Your Parade, wrong. He's wrong. Let it be no wrong.
Guys, be nicer to our one viewer. He's very consistent. We need him.
He enjoys the abuse.
He does.
Yeah, it's definitely. Yeah, this is right here. Bottle condition. Anyway, all right. Who else? Oh yeah, do we have any more comments? Is that it?
You were saying stuff, but no one cares.
Yeah, I'm not reading anymore until we go for the next round of comments.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right. So I'm gonna be done with my beer before I get to actual tasting notes.
Well, let's get started on our.
That's why you should get 2 of them.
Yeah, you can keep going. Let's get started on our ratings. Let's start off with Mr. Ashley Sexton.
All right. So yeah, I love this beer. This is so good. I love sitting here sipping this beer. I'm also sipping it because I haven't eaten dinner yet, and something like this can really put you on your ass pretty quick. Anyway,
you're fasting like the monks are.
Yeah. I will admit it is too cold right now because I just came home from a baseball game and it just came out of the fridge. So I'm not getting a lot on the aroma that I would normally, probably if it was sitting at a proper temperature. But I just love all the flavors, like the complexity that you get on this. Like you're getting coffee, you're getting chocolate, you're getting you're picking up like raisins and figs and like nice, like bitter on the front and then nice and sweet on the finish. It is just such a nice complex beer. Now my bottle, and maybe everyone can do this when they do their review. My bottle This was bottled on February 20th of this year, so it's barely 6 months old. So the only thing with mine is, I am getting a little bit of like an alcohol burn to it, which, it's 11.3%. You're getting an alcohol burn either way. Mine's probably a little bit more amped up than some of your others that you've been sitting on for a few years, but I don't really think it detracts from the actual rating of the beer at all. Now, I'll be honest, I haven't had too many Belgian quads. It's just not something that pops up in my area all that often. But for personal enjoyment, I'm going to give this a 9.5 out of 10 because I can sit back with one of these once a week and be completely content. And you know what? I'll give it a 9 out of 10 for a Belgian quad, but that's only because I'm sort of ignorant to the style. I don't really know all that much about it, so I'll just give it a notch down just because I'm an idiot. So there we go. So 9 for style and 9.5 for enjoyment.
Very nice. All right, let's move over to Double Fister. What do you think?
I am double fisting. Oh shit! I usually just copy everyone else's review since I'm usually last, so I don't know what to say. Oh god, I gotta come up with my own thoughts. This is terrible. First of all,
you're capable of thinking for yourself.
That's enough with the crickets there. Okay, so let you know. So I am drinking. I guess neither one of these bottles is terribly fresh, if you count it that way. But this one I bought actually early 2018. So this is part of the LCBO aging program. This one I think is bottled in late February 2017, so it's over a year old. And then the other bottle I'm drinking, which I bought in 2016, I know that because I wrote it on the bottle, but it appears that it was actually bottled in November 2015. So there you go. So we got one that's a year and a bit old and one that's over 2 years old. Honestly, you got all your good flavors in this. I don't get the coffee, but I get a lot of the dark fruits, the candy sugar. I wish I got a little more banana in this, but I don't. The thing that holds this back for me is I do get a lot of chocolate in it, and I'm not a big fan of chocolate in this style of beer. But that's really a minor thing. Now, I will say the one that's a year and a bit old, for some reason, it has what I can only describe as like wood tannins to it. And yes, I know this is not barrel aged, so don't attack me, please. But that's the taste I get from my stupid palate. The one that's older, I do not get that. Now, that could be variation, that could be age, I don't know. I've also had this fairly fresh where it was bottled within 6 months, and frankly, I don't think it's really any better or worse aged. I think it's a little different, but I think a fresh bottle is just as good as a 2-year-old bottle. I think it's about as old as I've had, or however old this is. Anyway, for style, I'm going to give it a 9.5. It's really good. Like I said, I wish I had less chocolate. And the two other competitors to this, one of which, the Westie 12, I've only tried once. I thought it was absolutely phenomenal, but I've only tried it once. And the App 12, which I've had many, many, many times, I prefer them both to this. So that's where the 9.5 comes. This is still excellent, but not as good as this style can be for me. And for pretty much the exact same reasons, I'm also going with a 9.5 for personal preference. This is excellent, but I've had better in the same style. So there we go. And 2 of them is better than 1 because it makes you really, really happy inside.
Nice. Good solid review from you. Very, very professional, if you don't mind me saying.
Once a year, I think I can do it.
Yeah. Even brought it war tie. All right, let's move over to Chris.
I am so bringing the fucking numbers down on this one.
Oh, you shithead.
I'm telling you, you know what? I don't like this beer. You know what? It's my own personal. It's my own. You know what? It's my own opinion. Oh, plug on my channel. But you know what? I am not a fan of this beer. It's the Belgian quad. I get it. I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10 for the style of this beer. I mean, it does what it is. It is what it is, right? The Belgian quad. I mean, I wrote some shit down here. It's got for me. It's giving me a black licorice taste, and I don't like black licorice for some reason. You know what? I never have. To this day, I don't like that taste. What else did I write down here? You know what? I would probably, I would like to try the 8 because I've never tried the 8 on this one. So, you know what? It might actually be a little bit better for me and my baby palate, hashtag. With that being said, it's given me a huge alcohol burn on this one. What we're looking at, February 20th. I don't know. It says 2023. I don't know what that means on the bottle.
That's fresh. 2018 bottle.
Sure, whatever. So it's giving me a ton of burn on this one, which I don't enjoy. I mean, I really don't. I would rather fucking sit down and drink a beer and not have to fucking wince every time I fucking take a sip of it. I don't know. Should I sit on this beer next time I buy one? You know what? I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna buy another one next time I go down to the fucking LCB. I'm gonna pick up another one. I'm gonna let it sit. I'm gonna let it sit for a little while, and by a little while I mean I'll give it a year, maybe 2 years, and let it sit for a bit, and see how it tastes after I fucking open that up and see if I like it. But with this fresh one here, I'm not a big fan. I'm sorry, guys, but I don't know if you guys are, you guys all love the quads and whatever. But for me, in my own personal opinion, I'm giving this one a 6 out of 10. So
and you know what, your baby palate's entitled to its own opinion. My baby palate
is saying, "Fuck off, guys." No, I'm just kidding.
but there's something real to be said there. If you're talking about it, like if it's a bit too harsh, it's a bit too much of a burn. You know, aging
it's a little bit
that off.
That's exactly what it is. For me, it's a little bit too much. You know what I mean? Like I can sit here and try to drink this thing and and wince every time. But I will give it props on one thing though. One thing I noticed right off the hop, the smell from the bottle or from the glass is fantastic. The smell of this beer is great, but for some reason, it's just not. It's not my cup of tea.
Chris, you do you. It could be a lot worse. You could be you.
This is true.
Oh, I totally agree. But you know what? That's my own opinion, and that's all I'm going to say. So I'm going to get 9 for style and 6 out of 10 for overall enjoyment.
But based upon what you're saying about it, though, I would recommend buying at least maybe 1 or 2 more bottles, just sitting on them for a while. See what the aging will do.
I should, and I probably will. I'm going to go next time I'm over at an LCBO that actually carries this, and we'll pick up a couple bottles and let them sit for a little bit.
Yeah, because I mean, this one is a year old. I've had the opportunity to store a couple for a few years, and I find that they get better to a point. Anyway, let's move along to Craig.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. This is. I don't think I've ever had an aged one like this before, and it's quite amazing. It's got a real kind of smoothness. It's really mellowed out. It's almost got like a sherry kind of depth to it. And then what everyone else has kind of said, bits and pieces, I'm picking up like a candied sugar, like a dried fruit, bit of caramel, figs, like almost like a toasted nut kind of quality or something going on with it. Yeah, it's a slight earthy, peppery kind of note to it, but it's all saying that all them flavors, it's kind of all come together really well, and it's just it's pretty damn awesome, this one, for sure. As I said before, this is I think it's a 2014, I guess. So it's actually, well, it's to be, yeah. Was it April? Yeah, April. No, 4th of June of 2019 is best before on this. So yeah. Well, to put this amongst the style, I've not had all of them to actually compare it really against anything. I've not had the Westie 12 or anything like that. The Chimay Blue, I've had that probably the most out of them. Again, an aged bottle I've probably had fresh, so it's very difficult for me to actually compare it with. But I think this is probably the best one I've ever had. Pretty damn awesome, where I'm sober enough to actually appreciate it and just chill out with it, So in terms of a rating then for style, I'm going to give this a 9.5. And for overall enjoyment, I'm giving this a 9.75.
Holy shit!
Yep, pretty damn amazing.
Wow, that's really high. And you're bringing the ratings right back up after Chris messed them up.
Well, that's what I thought.
Yeah, but it sounds like it that bottle really got more amazing over time.
Well, yeah, I'm gonna have to get a load and put them away just to forget about them for a while, because I think I mean I don't know, I mean they're good anyway, whatever, but this, it just, I don't know, it's just hitting the spot for me at the moment. So
nice. All right, move over to Lee. What's your thoughts?
All right, so this is, I think it's exactly the same batch as you have, Nick. 2022 is the best before date.
I bought them
So
at the same time. So 2022
yes.
was it?
So
is it May 23rd?
it is indeed. Yes.
All right.
So I could definitely see how if this is like super young, it probably would be a little too hot, maybe. That being said, this is probably, it's either as easy to get as Chimay Blue or just about as easy to get. It's about as widespread and commercially available, I'm guessing. But if you put them head to head, this is better bang for your buck, really, because the bottles are almost ready to go compared to Chimay Blue, which can be a little bit rough unless you put some age on them. So in that regard, this is really good for just being a really accessible quad that you can jump right into, in my opinion, especially if you had some experience with them. That also being said, I think St. Bernardus App 12 is better. I have vivid memories of that one being just really excellent, but it's only a little bit above this and like Chimay Blue. So there you go. And out of the other quads I've had, this Chimay Blue, St. Bernardus definitely kind of sit on the top of the mountain. But yeah, style-wise, I'd give it a solid 9. My own personal enjoyment, again, a little bit below the St. Bernardus. So I would give it a 9 as well. Like the St. Bernardus would be a 9.5 or somewhere around there. It just has a slight edge to this as far as I'm concerned. But this is nothing to shake a stick at. It's got a lot of flavor depth, a lot of aroma depth. Like I think I said offline, it kind of tastes like a dead drunken librarian. You got all these sort of nice wine flavors that you expect from a quad. You got the sort of the dates, the prunes, the fig, sort of a treacle kind of thing going on. A little bit of earthiness, a little bit of spiciness, like Craig said, like just the slightest hint of like kind of clove in the background, maybe very, 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 very hidden, very, very buried, but it's there. And it's still a world-class beer, but yeah, 9 across the board for me on both things. So there you go.
Very nice. All right, and let's move over to one of the most excited people on this chat to try this beer. Let's go over to Matt.
Hot garbage. That's it.
Hot garbage, 9.3.
Yeah, it's honestly, it's a fantastic beer. And what everybody says on this panel about it is the reason why it's good. Like when you're talking about the kind of the licorice anise thing, Chris is talking about. If you're talking about the kind of malty bits and pieces, if you're talking about the yeasty esters, you get all of it. You get dark fruits, you get a nice rich maltiness, you get a Belgian candied sugar that's second to none. You get that spiciness, the depth to the beer. It actually encompasses what all kind of quads aspire to be, but it almost hurts itself a little bit because it's not. It doesn't have a big calling card to it, whereas La Trappe has that big banana ester that Greg wanted off it. You know what I mean? Whereas like the St. Bernardus has this cool carbonation, whereas Westy has the kind of allure. It's kind of a jack of all trades beer, but I think that is not a bad thing. I think it's absolutely delicious. I think I couldn't wait to finish it. It's been gone for about 5 minutes now. It's a fantastic beer. It gets a 10 for style because it is a perfect Trappist squad. And as far as I'm concerned, actually 9.9. Nothing could be perfect. 9.9. But that's not to say other ones can't be 9.9s. You know what I mean? Each one has their own redeeming qualities. So to say this beer is just the best out of all of them, no, it's just one of the best of many very good ones. As far as personal enjoyment, it's a 10. Is it one of the best beers I've ever had in my life? No. But is it one of the beers that makes me the happiness? Sure. Yeah, absolutely. And is that homerism speaking? Probably. But in the end, I think it's a fantastic beer. It's made awesome. It just gets better with age. And, yeah, if people don't like it, Chris, that's your prerogative, but you're wrong.
All right, and finally, let's go over to Joe and see what you think.
It's all been said. My bottle is just over 2 years old. It was bottled on August 11th of 2016, so pretty damn close to just being over 2 years old. Yeah, I don't really have much to say for it. I think it's been pretty much covered. I hate Ewart. And then on top of that, I would probably, for style, would give it 423 Teku Murrays out of 424 Ewarts. So I don't know where that would actually land other than pure garbage, but actual ranking for style, probably 9.75. I mean, it's one of the top quads I've ever had. I don't think there's really much argument other than Chris, but it's probably like the only quad Chris has ever had. So, I mean, you take what he says for what it's worth. He needs to experience more to see how he feels, but I think everyone who's had quite a few quads, and also Ashley as well, it's up there, whether it's your favorite or not. I mean, that's why opinions are fun and why we do stuff like this. Personal enjoyment, 88 DARs out of 100 Chris Peters, so perfect. But in reality, probably like a 9 out of 10 for me, maybe a 9.5, somewhere in that range. I don't really care. It's a great beer. When it comes to the Westie and Westie 12s and the La Trappes and the St. Bernardus Sap 12s and the whole 9 we're talking about them, Chimay, they're all really damn good, honestly. And Chris, so who actually said it? It was actually Greg who said age doesn't matter on this beer or might not matter. I think Matt would argue that it probably does, and I think it does to a pretty high degree. I mean, if you drink this beer 10 years old, it's going to be way different than you drank it 2 years old, right? And they're all great beers. We are going to have different opinions on what our favorite.
Joe, just to say, I didn't say it didn't matter. I just said it doesn't necessarily make it better.
Oh, well, that's true. I give you that, but you're still wrong. Also, I fucking hate Ewart. And then on top of this, I'm just going to end this with, this was a great beer analysis. It was a lot of fun to be able to actually drink what would be, I guess, a world-class beer, world-renowned beer, instead of the, shitty macro lagers that we do every other week.
The shitty macro, like next week's beer.
Yeah. And we had one of the bigger panels that we've ever had, especially for a good craft beer. Or just good beer, if you want to say that. And if Ewart wasn't a complete piece of trash, he would have joined us tonight. But he is what he is.
And that's why we hate Ewart.
Yeah, we do hate Ewart.
I think 8's the record. I think we said it once before. I forget which review. I will say this is probably the longest beer analysis 101. We're approaching like 45 minutes or something like that, maybe more than that. Yeah, we're 48 minutes in. Anyway, and we still haven't even finished our final.
Yeah, I just have one thing last thing to say. Yeah, fuck you.
You say it, man. You say it. And you muted yourself. All right.
I could say it again. Fuck you. Is it clear?
I'm saying something about under the cat. Anyway, all right. All right, mute Greg. All right, so let's get down to my thoughts. I have my own opinions. I'm allowed. Yeah, just like everybody's been saying, this beer is amazing. It's incredibly complex, and I found at least my bottle, at least warmed up. I let it sit out of the fridge about to 15-20 minutes before I dug into it, maybe a bit longer than that. It does say on the back of the bottle, at least I think it says, maybe I'm wrong, usually this kind of beer you want to serve at like 12 or 14 degrees, so with a chill on it, but not cellar temperature. Anyway, so, man, I'm starting to feel this already. All right, but yeah, I got to say, it's incredibly complex. I absolutely love it. I'm getting figs, raisins, grapes, cinnamon, a bit of banana, milk chocolate, brown sugar, a hint of apple cider in it. When you take a swig of the 2017 bottle that I had, when you take a swig of it, it's almost very drying in the back of the palate and earthy at the same time. It's also nice and peppery, like a spice to it, and it's also very warming as it goes down, but not harshly warming or overpoweringly warming like what Chris was describing before. And I think I'm the only one at this point, and I hate to be that guy to actually do it, because I'm famously the person to never give a perfect rating for anything. But when it comes to my opinion on this beer, out of the style, when I think about the style of quadruple, I can't see anybody doing it better than this one. So it's just 10. I'm gonna do a 10 out of 10 for the style. For personal overall enjoyment, I'm finding this specific glass of this bottle of it fucking amazing. And I'm gonna give it the 9.5, so 4.75 out of 5. Of course, not an unusual rating for me. Anyway, I just gotta say, when it comes to, like, as everybody else was comparing it to, when you compare it to the 2 closest or 3 closest ones, you want to compare this to like the Chemin Bleu or the Saint Bernardus 12 or Abbot 12, and the I'll even throw in La Trappe Quad. I'm just finding that the complexity of this is just mind-boggling. When you think you could dig into this thing, and this is just like peeling back the layers of an onion. You just keep there's another flavor, there's another flavor there. Somebody says a word, you say, "Oh yeah, I do get that too," like the bananas. I think Greg said it. But overall, I really am finding this a thoroughly enjoyable beer. And it's also backed up by the fact that it's not super expensive for. I mean, I wish I could still get this here, but back up in Quebec, it was only like $5.35 a bottle, which is completely accessible considering how far this beer has to travel and what kind of prestige it has. So it's got everything for the style, and I'm really finding this particular glass of it incredible. Yeah, to top it off, I've also cracked open my 2014 bottle here, so I can say a few words about how aging does smooth it out quite a bit. I'm still getting bits of apple cider, brown sugar, banana. It's almost adding a little bit of bubble gum, maybe batch variation year on year. The cinnamon is there, but it's faded, as is the chocolate. It's not as drying. It's still a bit peppery. The main big show of force on this thing here is that it's not as warming, and it's also but there is a slight warmth there, but it's very fucking smooth now when you put 4 years on it. And I'm almost getting no trace, even though it's a crown cap bottle. I'm getting almost no trace of oxidation. There's no staleness to this. It's incredible. It's a very, very, very good beer. Anyway, now that I've embarrassed myself by swooning over this particular bottle of it, when I didn't actually get into the deal. When you compare it to like Saint Bernardus 12, Abbot 12, I kind of like this better than the Abbot 12. But I think Westfletiron 12, when you add in how good that beer is, plus the addition of the rarity of that one, maybe there's a little bit of like greener pastures on the other side of the fence kind of thing when you think about how rare that beer is. But I almost think that I like Rusty 12 better than this. But you're splitting hairs at this point because they're so close.
Price point I want to talk about for a second.
Yeah.
All right, Matt, what did you pay for yours? We have Reigning Edge on your parade, $6.79. Me, I was $6.99.
10.
You paid $10?
I paid $10, but pumped the brakes because I had to. I forgot about this until a couple days ago. Just where I live now, there's not many places to pick it up. So I bought it at a bar, and they usually charge 12, but they sell it to me for 10 just to be nice people. You know what I mean? So in Jersey, it's $6.99 a bottle.
Okay, so
but in PA, it's usually like $8.99, $9.99. Like you'll find it for $10 a bottle in PA. But you don't pay taxes or any of that.
Yeah.
So if it's $8.99, you're paying $8.99.
Yeah, and Paul, settle down. We already know. Okay, settle down. He's gonna be all about. I pay $75. We know. You live in the backwoods of nowhere and you pay $5 billion a bottle. Just want to do the conversion rate for the Canadians here specifically. It was, I believe, Eric in the comments. Eric Gilbert said $4.65 in Ontario. You said $5.35 in Quebec, and Craig said in the UK he paid $4.29. So I did the conversion rate. $6.99 bottle, which seems to be the going rate in most normal states, or I guess non-commonwealths.
I was given this bottle as well. I didn't pay.
Yeah, you didn't pay shit, Craig. You're a piece of shit. I love you. Anyway, $9. That is the equivalent to like $9.10. What we're paying Canadian for a bottle. That would be the actual conversion.
Wow.
For
the opposite way. What's the conversion?
So yeah, if you go into Canada, our bottle would cost $9.10 Canadian for the bottle that we buy.
Yeah.
You guys pay $4.65, so that's almost double the price for the bottle. Okay, if you convert, and on top of that, Craig $4.29 I think is $5.50 American, so he's still paying $1.50 less than us. But the conversion of that to Canadians, whatever, like $4 something. we get reamed hard when it comes to a lot of these Belgian imports. We pay basically double what the Canadians do in general.
If anyone gives a shit, every time I go to Michigan, I see either this. I think it's any of the Rocheforts. I think they're all usually around the same price in Michigan. They're usually $8.99 or $9.99 US a bottle. So
that's crazy.
They're, I think, even a little bit more expensive. But again, that might be the bottle shops just kind of gouging.
It's kind of it can get up there price wise. It's just in Jersey it tends to be cheap with Belgians, because Belgians have a long history in Jersey. One of the biggest importers of Belgian beers before Shelton Brothers and Merchant Duvin and all those breweries, or all those importers. The biggest one was in Princeton, so you tend to get like cheaper Belgians here. But that was one of the biggest things, Joe, when I went up to Canada for the first time, was like how cheap all Belgian beers were. Like I was like, oh, Schneider Aventinus Icebox, $3.50 a Canadian. That's what, like a nickel American? I was like, holy shit. You know what I mean? So yeah, the price point is like absolutely crazy. But that when your whole country's buying beer and you have that kind of buying power, you know, that's what you get.
Yep.
Well, that makes sense when you think it's a government agency buying the beer. Is one, they're buying it for a chain of like 40 stores or something like that or more, then they're going to get a better deal than one bottle shop is going to get.
Yeah. But I mean, to speak about the like kind of difference between all of them, you know what I mean? Like I go with the big three, which would be St. Bernardus, West Veltrin, West Wiedelin, whatever you want to call it, 12. And this, I would put La Trappe in a totally different category, because their banana esters is so fucking crazy, bonkers, out of control, that it like makes the beer a totally different beer in a good way. I'm not
saying that La Trappe's bad or anything, but I mean, it's not this good.
No, it's good, but it's good in a different way. Because the banana is so gigantic, it's not even funny. It's almost different to me. You're kind of splitting hairs when it comes to the three. I think Westy 12s. I think they are. I don't think they're over. They are overrated within the style. I think they're a fantastic beer, but when you put them even up against the 12, which, you know what I mean? Like, you know, St. Bernardus made Westy 12 from like 1940 to 1967 or something like that. So they made Westies for like 40 years. Yeah. So it's like they make essentially the same beer. You just get a different kind of carbonation level, and they use a little bit different yeast ester. And St. Bernardus, I think, is a little bit better. This one, like I said, in my kind of notes, has a little bit more kind of versatility to it. It covers a bit more. It covers a bit more ground while not being as striking or as in your face. It has more depth to it. I think you could say, put all of them, make an argument for number one, but what we're saying is they're all fucking awesome, I think.
Yeah, to each their own. I think you're going to have probably, you take all 8 of us, you probably have 5 or 6 different ratings, you know, and where you place them. Yeah. I think, like I said earlier, though, and I'm sure it's been done on YouTube, but getting like relatively closely aged bottles of all 3 and doing like a side-by-side or a mystery beer review, like I think that'd be like the only way to be somewhat unbiased, but also have an understanding of what you think would be the best. But it's not extremely easy to get Westvleteren in 12, although if you know people going over there and whatnot, or know people locally, you can get it. But
it would be almost impossible to do a mystery beer of this because of this reason. Because if someone was like slick enough to actually even package, let's say they took a 12, a Westie, in this, and bottled them together, or put them together, and we're cool enough to do that, they'd have to be like, oh, make sure you do all 3 of these at the same time. And the second you crack them open, be like, okay, I know what I'm drinking right now. Which one's which? Do you know what I mean? You don't almost like blow the cover.
Yeah.
And I just want to add something, and it's totally maybe somewhat off topic, but I wanted to elaborate on the whole St. Bernardus was Westvleteren. Is that before the Trappist logoing came out, the brewery that made Westvleteren for Westvleteren was actually the St. Bernardus brewery. And when the Trappist lettering logoing came out, and they had to brew the beer within the Abbey walls, they decided, okay, we're going to move all of our production back within the Abbey. The existing brewery kept the original recipe and the original yeast strain, and they developed a new yeast at the Westvleteren Abbey to produce theirs. So the St. Bernardus is Westvleteren's original recipe with the original yeast. Well, but at least that's what I heard, anyway.
Yeah, I mean, yes, but the yeast are markedly different if you have them side by side, and that's honestly what separates. Yeah, exactly. No, and that's going to be true. Yeah, and that's what separates. Even if you had the same yeast strain from back when, I mean, if you're propagating it over generations and stuff like that, it's just going to change anyway because of your microflora and your fucking terroir and shit like that. So it's just going to change in general.
No, exactly. I mean, heck, same beers change over time, unless it's like Labatt 50 or something. It's going to change over time.
Don't give shit away already, Nick. Jesus Christ.
We're not naming that one next week. Maybe
Comments.
Comments. Let's move over to the comments. Let's go to the comment reader, Lee.
Yeah, I'll try to get through these quick. I'll probably skip at least 30
all
of
the
them.
viewers. Okay.
Yeah. Eric Gilbert says he remembers buying 6 of these for the first time, then waking up in his buddy's backyard at 10 a.m. So,
man, that's an expensive pass out.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it really is. Like shit.
Especially in Ontario.
Ewart gives an useless rating. He says he gives Rochefort 10 out of 5 DARS beer reviews. I give it 10.5 massive beer reviews.
Then that's well, you can't go like he just gave it a 20 out of 10. How does that work?
They give it a 93 plus minus plus.
I'll carry the 9. I see what it is.
Yeah.
I'd just be insulted that he did and Dar in the same fucking sentence. Paul says Ash gets a failing grade in beer school. Too cold. Paul says also 93 garbage at least, or the most, depends on how you want to go. Here it says perfect 88. Paul says Brewery West More is an amazing American quad if anyone sees it. Cheers.
Oh, yeah, we actually had that, him and I believe. It was good.
Paul continues saying 9.5% or 9.5 for overall enjoyment. Still an amazing score, Greg, and I can't believe how professional Greg was.
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 Yeah.
Past
tense.
Past tense.
Just watch the after show. This will not continue.
Yeah. Keep your shirt on.
Guess who's not invited?
Yeah. All right.
Joe,
is that all?
the beer patrol. Woo, woo, woo.
No, we still got a lot of comments here. I'm going to skip some here. Some of these are just fucking insulting Chris's palate. Let's see. Rod says, "Go with what you feel. Every beer isn't for everyone. Otherwise, we'd all drink the same one."
Yeah.
And Paul wants Chris to stay away from Santa Claus. So there you go.
That one is very boozy.
Paul says Deschutes, not the Stoic, is my favorite quad, albeit it's barrel aged unlike this. Cheers. Okay, some things about transferring money. Ewart says Bellwood's Lambada is a fun quad, barrel aged with Brett.
Yeah, that is a really fun beer. But he's still a piece of crap.
For everybody out there, if you actually like a super attainable, really good American quad, Schlafly. That's a fucking really good easily attainable in the United States.
I wish I got Schlafly. I'd like to. I still want to try the pumpkin ale, but that's neither here nor there.
No. The only quad from the States I think I've had is Judgment Day from Lost Abbey.
They crush it on the Belgian front. They do really.
Maybe Allagash. Sorry.
And I think Paul's looking for some mystery beers here in the mail pretty soon. He says, "Matt, lovely return to form with your closing statements. Hats off to you." Sounds like he's got his fishing for firmly beers. Planted halfway up your anus at this point.
Wait, is Paul stroking out because he's being nice?
Yeah, I don't know what's going on.
You're gonna see him creep over my shoulder and just doing his walking. His heels in the middle of nowhere. He's just gonna creep over my shoulder.
Yeah. I just happened to be in the area, Matt.
Yeah. Raining on Your Parade says, "Where are you finding the date on the bottle?" There should be a date right on the back. I already
told him right in the back corner right there.
Yeah, I told him he did it, and he has a fresh bottle. I think it's January 31st of this year.
And the temperature's back there too. If you look,
the Canadian, the one I have
to 57.
Yep.
Yeah, the one I have doesn't have the temperature on it. So
mine neither. Of course, they've got a special label on it. It says Quebec 10 cents.
Right underneath the little chalice there in mine.
Same thing, and for Paul, that does not mean Celsius, although you might think it does.
Ours says Quebec Beer Info en français, www.quebecbière.info.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure these front labels are from Rochefort, and I think the back labels are from whoever imports because it says Merchant of It on the United States one.
Mine's different to yours by the look of it. So.
Okay, so Ethan's beer reviews showed up and said hello. Earth showed up and gave this a 93 out of 88.
Nice.
Jamie's in the comments saying, I'm on my magic carpet looking for a window. Probably won't go anywhere. And he says, cheers, everyone. Very professional. And I'll end it off there. I'm sorry if I missed some of your guys' comments, but there was like, this is probably the most comments we've ever had. So
you literally read none of yours, basically, which is fantastic.
Yeah, well, I was told.
All right.
That's the fucking best.
Anyway, let's move along to the ratings, and we'll present Chris.
Oh shit!
Oh shit!
You're going already?
You already did that, buddy.
Yeah. Surprised my ass with that shit. Jesus Christ! Jesus Christ! Fuck, man.
Waiting to see, Chris. Come on.
You. I thought you were ready. You said you were ready. Come on.
Okay,
Come on. Will this beat
The final scores are brought to you by, ladies and gentlemen,
Drum roll, please.
all the beer tubers who participated in BA1. Now I've got a list here. It's in the background. You can read it, but I'm going to read it for you right now. We've got Maxwell Star, Nick, Lee, Professional Greg, but not really professional. Myself, I need all the subs, so fucking sub to me. We've got Basement Beer, Ashley Sexton, the Beer Patrol, Massive Beer Reviews is on there. Drinking in Canada is on there, but he's not here today. I miss you, Guy. We haven't seen him in a long time. The Albino Rhino, he started off when he came in. Rod Jays, he's been here for a couple times. Redbeard, Teku Muri, who we're just going to ignore him anyway. Kent Beer Reviews, Peter from the Clues Drinker, and PA Brew News, who have all participated in Beer Analysis 101. And you know what? We appreciate everyone who's come in, who's put in their own opinions on this one, on all the beers that we've done. And you know what? Everyone can't join every week. And you know what? That's who this fucking Beer Analysis 101 is.
Cheers to you, gentlemen. Cheers to you.
Awesome.
Yeah, cheers to everybody who participated in the fucking
Cheers to my empty
And
glass.
especially cheers to Lee for starting it and Nick for continuing it on.
That's right. And cheers to the best panel show, as Lee mentioned earlier, that's on YouTube right now when it comes to beer tubing. But anyway, let's go to the final scores. Okay, so here we go. For Rochefort 10, I feel like I brought the fucking score down, but not really, because this is going to kick fucking MGD's ass. So, you guys ready? Here we go. Here's our score. 9.39.
Yeah.
And 9.06 for overall enjoyment is what we have for the Rapists.
The rapist.
It's got to be a
I'll
record.
take the penis mightier for 500.
And it's so true. So
That's
our
definitely-
final score for.
That's definitely so far the highest rated beer we've ever done on.
And it might be forever unless we all get our hands on something better, which maybe.
I'm sure we'll get our hands on something. Oh, I gotta stop presenting Chris.
But
We're sending out double tempests.
The fuck?
if anybody out there in the beer world, whether it be in BeerTube or whoever,
There we
a
go.
journalist, whatever, looks at that score, if they say, "Oh, that's wrong," they're fucking crazy. You know what I mean? Like it's what it should be. Sure, it's not as high as some people think it should be. It's not as low, but at the same time, it's fucking a great beer.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Actually, stylistically, it's almost perfect, if not perfect. It's a fucking amazing beer. Whether or not you like the style, it depends on you, right?
I'm curious what it would be if you looked up like Rate Beer or Beer Advocate, how close it would be to what that is.
Look it up, Nick.
You know, at the end of the day, if you got that score in
Sorry, I
school,
was
you'd become a doctor. or
The
something.
aggregate
You'd
score
be
on
doing
like Rate
okay.
Beer and Beer Advocate, how close?
So
you
on
are to
Rate
that.
Beer, it's 100 within the style and 100 for an overall beer.
Wow.
Oh yeah, but I don't trust Rate Beer. That's Budweiser.
Me either. Fuck Rate
But,
Beer.
go.
Fuck you, Dar. Oh, sorry.
On Untapped, it's got 145,000 ratings, coming in at 4.15.
See, that is close, but I don't trust Untapped either because people on Untapped are like, I don't like beer.
But
I
because we'll let everybody have
I get
it.
that, but then
Rate
that
beer
amount of
at least.
ratings-
Brought it right down. to-
Rate beer at least you have to have a certain number of ratings before your ratings count.
On Beer Advocate, 9,496 ratings, 4.5 out of 5 on
What was
Yeah,
ours?
That's
4.
the most
What?
accurate right there.
What was ours?
Beer
Yeah, that's
that
what
was-
I'm saying.
Beer Advocate. Yeah, 4.5 out of 5.
What was
When
ours?
I When I first rated it on YouTube in 2013, I gave it a 4.5 out of 5. So that pretty much sells it right there.
You just set the bar.
That's right.
There you go.
I think
It all
what
started with you.
our style would convert to what, like 4.65, I think, because it was almost 9.4, 9.39, something like that. So yeah, that's like right on for probably in personal, just over 4 or 5 years. So I mean, it's like, yeah, I think Beer Advocate's the closest and probably the most appropriate.
And honestly, this panel is probably a reflection of that. You have Chris, who hasn't been in this style at all, really. He's drinking for the first time. Me, who's a fucking stone cold homer. You're very close, Joe. And then you have a couple people that have loved the beer over time, and a couple of people have just dabbled in it. You know what I mean? It's kind of what beer is.
Yeah, got a wide range of individuals with different experiences of the style in this beer specifically. So
I gotta say that I just noticed that you can't really tell online, but the two bottles are different bottles. Like the older one is a little smaller.
You're so drunk, man.
yeah, we're gonna need you to not double fist Rochefort.
Holy shit!
Well,
Yeah.
Did anybody ask what next week's beer is?
somebody did in the comments, but it was probably you, so we didn't read
It
it.
was probably Craig who probably fucking brought
Craig,
that.
I think, posted in there, even though he's on the panel. What is next week's beer?
Woo!
Something
Well,
classy.
I can't wait. It's my summer beer.
Settle down.
Bring your phone. What's next week's beer? I'm gonna play the video.
Are you
No,
seriously doing
that's
Coors
not.
Light?
No, we're doing something much worse.
There you go.
Oh, there it is.
Extra next week's
Corona.
summer beer.
You know,
Corona.
oh man,
Come
you
on,
fucking
right.
for real.
Hey,
All right.
maybe next week.
What is it
Maybe
up for
next
that?
week I can get my wife on the panel. She
Is it-
enjoys that beer.
Corona
Is-
Extra is next week.
Is the
Will
Corona
you guys,
extra,
will you guys
that's
allow a
canned,
woman
not
on
the
the
same?
panel?
Get your limes out.
I'll try to get the actual.
I'm gonna have to get a
from
line for
Mexi-
next week. I think.
From Mexico, because the Corona from Mexico is made with real sugar instead of corn syrup.
Is it really?
Can you get the real Corona? Where do you know
No,
where it's sold?
that's fucking Coca-Cola. I'm just fucking
Oh,
with it.
Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ. Let's do Coca-Cola Mexico.
Well, the Canadian version says that it was brewed in Mexico, at least, but I don't know if that's.
Yeah, Mexico,
that's
because
important.
Constellation Brands bought a small plot of land in Idaho and named it Mexico, and now brews it there.
What is the is the canned
And now we're
version? What's the canned version that's slightly different than that? It's like
Land Shark?
Sold.
not Land Shark, not Land Shark.
Those
Land Shark is actually.
No, like there's a Corona Extra that's canned, but I don't think it's actually the exact same beer. There's something changed about it. Forgot what the actual name.
Is the canned one not the same thing?
I've seen it.
Apparently, it's not, and I don't know. I was gonna buy the canned one because
I'm gonna
I
get
don't want to
the
buy a
canned one
12
now
pack.
too.
If I buy a single huge bottle of that somewhere, it's gonna be skunked beyond belief because it should be sitting in the light forever and be like,
I'm buying a mini keg. I'm buying a mini keg of it.
well, that's on you more so than anyone else here.
Jesus.
Yeah, I was just planning to buy the can. Like I didn't want to.
I was gonna buy a can and a bottle and compare the two beers. Like, yeah.
Chris, not a fan of Rochefort 10. Mini keg of Corona Extra.
Classy as
Just telling you right now.
Can we actually redo the poll that we did and actually take Corona off the options? Can we do that?
I'm just gonna bring
Yeah,
Mexican
please.
Coke to the party because Matt said it's allowed. That's what I'm doing.
I'm gonna have all the salt and lime for you, motherfuckers.
I was hoping that we could do Soul at some point. Remember Soul,
Fucking-
SOL?
Yeah.
Nick, we can do it.
I'll
It's
tell
okay.
you. I'll talk to you about
Alright.
Soul, baby.
Oh, Soul Train.
I'd rather jump into the sun, you know?
Yeah, so unless we change our mind, it looks like it's Corona Extra.
Holy
unfortunately,
motherfucker,
that's
does
on
that
you.
ever have legs in this buddy?
You got soul?
You got Soul? Wow.
Nick,
Really?
Nick,
Right.
have you manned up and figured out our next macro yet, or are you not figuring that out till next week?
Yeah, shut up, Greg.
It's gonna be Bone Shaker. I'm telling you guys, it's gonna be Bone Shaker.
Oh, you mean our
for
next
sure.
craft beer? It's either Bone Shaker or I got a fresh can of Bo's Full Time IPA.
Oh, Jesus.
Fuck's
No.
sakes.
Did I say macro? Clearly, I'm drunk.
You said macro.
It's a
Clearly,
macro.
you've had too many. You've had one too
Already.
many. Rocheforts.
I've had. Yes, I have.
Rochefort.
I would argue
Longest
more than
show
one is
ever.
probably one too many.
I know, it's mad.
All right.
Yeah, let's
Do we have any
end this.
last?
We're done.
Last comments.
No, I turned the comments page off. Let's get the fuck out of here.
I got up here. Let's see. Doesn't matter. Still doesn't matter. Nope, we're good. No, there's some comments from Eric Gilbert mentioning about a 2014 Lambda he drank. A couple. Oh, hang on. Jamie says. Jamie says downward slide personified, and this is the next week. The beer is GTA Piss Water.
Eric Gilbert says Land Shark, keep fucking walking. I can get that here. We can totally get that.
We can do Land Shark, but we shouldn't.
Jackie Murray says,
is this the after show?
Can't judge beer alchemy.
Oh,
right.
No, it's not the after.
I think high time, and holy crap, it's 10:30.
Shut it down.
We've been on this for a while.
I do have a final comment.
Longest beer analysis 101 in history, and also the highest rated beer we've ever done.
Listen,
thank you for watching.
I do have a final comment, if you may. Thank you, Nick, and thank you, Lee, for starting the Beer Analysis 101, and thank you to Nick for fucking continuing it for a year. You know what? You guys are great. You guys are fantastic, and you know what? We're gonna do another year after this one. We might do wine on my channel, but that's
in your channel. Okay.
Other than that, we're gonna continue with Beer Analysis 101. We're gonna keep getting more beers. We're gonna keep alternating if we can, and you know what? We appreciate all the viewers who watch the channel. We watch and that actually watch the show, who have to actually get some fucking education. You know what? I might be drunk on Grey Goose, but whatever.
All right. Yeah.
Maybe one day we'll catch those people. That guy that
get the fuck off the fucking show. You're not even here right now.
You know what? I'm glad that everybody. I'm glad that everybody appreciates it except for you, who just got on the panel. So I'm going to eject him.
I'm crashing this phone.
Oh yeah, get him out of here.
And you know what? Glad everybody appreciates it, except for Greg. But Greg, I'm glad you're here anyway. All right, I got to stop this podcast.
I told you.
And maybe soon somebody here, woo, wear their proper fucking uniform.